The Man in the Wall. Chapter 1. The Tapping. I used to think my little brother had an overactive imagination, but now I know he was telling the truth. It started the summer after we moved into that old two-story house on the edge of town. My parents said it was full of character and a perfect fixer-upper. It was built sometime in the early 1900s, with creaky wooden floors, peeling wallpaper, and that constant smell of dust and dry rot. I didn't mind it at first, until my brother, Jamie, started talking about the man in the wall. At first it was harmless kid talk. He was 6, still at that age where you'd catch him chatting with stuffed animals or narrating little adventures with his toys. But one afternoon, while I was in the living room playing video games, he wandered in and asked, completely serious, "Do you see him too?" I barely glanced up. "See who?" "The man in the wall. He's been watching us." I laughed because what else are you supposed to do when a kid says that? But Jamie didn't laugh. His eyes were wide, the way they get when he's telling the truth. That night, I heard him talking in his room. It was a quiet, hushed whisper, like when you're on the phone with someone and don't want your parents to hear. Except Jamie didn't have a phone. When I opened his door, he was standing, not sitting, standing at the far corner of his room, his face almost touching the wall. His little hands were pressed flat against it, like he was feeling for something inside. "Jamie," I said. He turned slowly, like I had interrupted him in the middle of something important. His expression was calm, too calm for a 6-year-old. "He says he likes you." I didn't know how to respond. I tried to brush it off, told him it was time for bed. But as I left, he called after me. "He wants you to see him." A week later, I woke up at 3 a.m. to a faint tapping. It was slow, rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. I thought it might be a branch against the window, but the sound wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the wall. The tapping stopped, and I almost convinced myself it was nothing, until I heard the breathing. It was soft, but unmistakable, the kind of breathing you only hear when someone is standing way too close. My chest tightened. I stared at the wall, and that's when I saw it. From the baseboard, where the wood had a hairline crack, something began to slide out. Fingers. They were long, pale, and wrong, like they had too many joints. They probed at the air, curling and uncurling, searching. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. I just sat there, frozen, until they suddenly slipped back inside, disappearing into the dark. The room was silent again. When I finally dared to get up and run to my parents' room, I found Jamie standing in the hallway. He was smiling. "Now you can see him too."
The Man in the Wall. Chapter 2. When he steps out. The next morning, I told my parents everything. The tapping, the breathing, the fingers. They laughed. They said I was probably dreaming, that I'd been playing too many horror games. My dad even knocked on the wall and joked, "Guess we've got ghosts, huh?" Jamie was sitting at the table, eating cereal. He didn't laugh. He just looked at me and said, "He doesn't like when you tell." That was the first time I felt it, the cold. Not in the room, not in the air, inside me. Like something had slipped under my skin and was settling there. Over the next few nights, the tapping came back. Always at 3 a.m., always from the same spot in the wall. Sometimes I thought I could hear words. Not loud enough to understand, but close enough that my brain kept trying to. Jamie got worse. He stopped playing outside, stopped drawing, stopped talking to me about normal stuff. Instead, he'd sit in his room for hours, facing the wall, whispering. I asked him once, "What does he say to you?" He blinked at me, slow, like a cat. "He says you're almost ready." 2 weeks later, I woke up not to tapping, but scratching. It was frantic this time, like something trapped and desperate. I sat up, my heart pounding. Then the wall bulged. I'm not exaggerating. The plaster actually swelled forward, like something was pressing against it from the inside. And then, God help me, it stepped out. He was tall, too tall, with skin the color of wet paper. His limbs were thin, jointed in strange places, bending too far the wrong way. His head tilted toward me, his neck creaking like wood under strain. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. He leaned down, inches from my face, and I finally saw his eyes. They weren't human. They weren't even animal. They were deep, black pits, stretching into forever. Looking into them felt like falling. Behind him, I saw Jamie, standing in the doorway, smiling, that same calm smile. "He says it's time," Jamie whispered. The thing's hand reached toward me, those wrong fingers brushing my cheek. My vision went dark. When I woke up, it was morning. The wall looked normal. My parents acted normal. But Jamie's room was empty. They told me they couldn't find him, that the police were looking. That was a year ago. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear tapping in my wall. Sometimes I think I hear Jamie's voice. "You can see him now. You'll help him find more." And the worst part? I'm not scared anymore. I'm waiting.